This is One Fat Boy, and here are my NBA game predictions for March 18th of 2022. Tonight there's 12 games, and we'll go over the spreads and over-unders for each of them. For the Mavericks at the Sixers, I'll lean towards Dallas plus 3, as overall, this probably isn't a game I'd bet the spread on, as I can see this game going both ways, but I think with the way that Dallas has been playing, they've been winning against tough teams like they won against Boston in a close defensive game, which I'll see that game again likely between these two, so hence why I'd lean towards a Dallas plus 3. But the main question will be how will Dallas slow down Embiid, which if Dallas is going to stay within 3, I think they'll figure out a way, because I think if the Sixers are going to win this game, they're going to need a big game from Embiid, as the Mavericks don't have a long list of big men, but I think they have enough tools to slow down Harden. I'll be going under 221.5, as I do expect a defensive game. Dallas has a very good defense. Philadelphia also can play some solid defense. And I think each basket, especially if it's close in the fourth quarter, it's going to be worked for. It's going to be a slower paced game, so hence why I'd lean towards an under for this game. For Portland at Brooklyn, so Brooklyn, even without Irving, because they're playing in Brooklyn, Durant should be able to have a monster game against Portland. Who's going to slow down Durant on Portland? No one. And the Nets have enough tools to interfere with how Portland runs their offense. And if the Nets can score like they did against the Magic, they don't need to score 150, but they just need. I wouldn't be surprised if they get 130. And in that case, Portland just needs to score 95 to have an over 225, which I see that as possible. Hence why I'm going with an over. And no reason for Brooklyn to lose this game, and they should win in a large manner, as I'm sure Durant gets some rest and not have to play the fourth quarter, so they're going to have to build that big lead early. For Memphis at Atlanta, I'll be going with Memphis -5. Even though Morant is day-to-day, Memphis has proven that they can win without him and go on a consistent win streak without him, so even if he's there or not, I'd still have to lean towards Memphis -5. Atlanta's kind of been inconsistent, so I'm not 100% confident betting on Atlanta. So hence why I just have to lean towards Memphis in this case. I'll be going over 224.5, as even with Morant, I think Memphis will put up a lot of points. They can keep up with Atlanta if this does turn to a high-scoring game. And I think they have enough tools to slow down Trae Young too. But I think overall, Atlanta will still score. Memphis will score a lot. They play a faster pace, so hence why I lean towards an over in this game. For the Lakers at Toronto, I think we'll see a repeat of the last time the Toronto and the Lakers played, where Toronto will win probably by 10, 12 points or double digits. But I will see this going over, as I think the Lakers should be able to score more than 12 points in all their quarters. And Toronto won't have a giant lead in the first half, but they will be stepping on the gas for most of the game, as they kind of let off in the second half of that game. So I expect this game to be a little bit closer in the first half, to where Toronto has to play most of the game. And the Lakers, they should stay within +9 after being kind of embarrassed by Toronto. They should try and win this game, as every game. But knowing how the Lakers play, they just won't show up. If they get down big, they're discouraged and just give up. So hence why I have to lean towards Toronto winning in general, likely covering the spread, and betting an over for this game. For the Thunder at Miami, so even though Miami, they should win this game, shouldn't have a problem winning, even if Butler's there or not, because he's day-to-day too. Miami should win without a problem. But covering 15.5 spread, I think that's a little too big, so hence why I have to lean towards OKC plus 15.5. Miami does not get huge amount of scoring. They're not a team that's going to be likely to have over 120 points, 125. They're more in that 110, that's kind of their tops. So that means they have to hold OKC to below 95, which is possible. I'll give them that. But the way that OKC's been playing on offense, it's been better. So I think they'll be able to stay within 15.5 points. I'll be going under, as OKC can play defense. Miami also very defensive. So I don't see an offensive powerhouse game coming from these two. So I'll be leaning towards an under for this game. for Indiana at Houston. So I do see this game being a shootout of sorts. And if Houston's going to stay within +3, I'm going to need to see a lot of offense from them. And they're going to give up a lot of points. So that means Houston will have to score a lot of points. So I can see that happening. So hence I'll lean towards Houston +3. And if you're going to be doing that, might as well take the over because, they're not going to play defense. But overall for this game, this probably wouldn't be a game I would touch for the spread, as either team can not show up, or both teams will show up. Because if one team doesn't show up and the other does, it's going to be a blowout. Either way. This is one game, it's I don't have a major prediction. I just overall just see both teams should be able to score a lot without a problem, as it's just going to be a lot of open shots for both teams. They just have to knock those down. So I likely see more of a over for this game. For the Pelicans at the Spurs, going with the Spurs -3.5. I think the way the Spurs have been playing, they've been scoring a lot of points. And with New Orleans not having Brandon Ingram, they're going to have to rely a lot more on McCollum and Valanciunas. And Spurs, I believe they don't have Diop, but they still have Murray, and I think that's enough, because the way the Spurs play with Popovich as the coach, he has enough tools to where the Spurs should be able to beat the Pelicans, and Spurs score a lot of points, so hence I'll be leaning towards over, because if the Spurs do win, that means they have scored over 125 points. So I just have to lean towards an over in that sense, as the Spurs ain't going to win with their defense. If you're leaning towards the Pelicans winning, I'd lean towards an under in that case, as the Pelicans ain't going to outshoot the Spurs, but they can play better defense than the Spurs. So if you see more offensive in this game, go for the Spurs. If you see more defense in this game, go with the Pelicans. For the Clippers at the Jazz, be going with the Jazz -7. The Jazz, they have to keep up in that top half of the Western Conference, and playing the team that kicked them out of the playoffs last year. If I'm the Jazz, I'd want to beat them for sure, and then really win by a lot too. So, and you're also playing at home, so there shouldn't be a reason why the Jazz can't cover a 7-point spread. But I know somehow they won't. But from looking at this on the paper, Jazz should be able to cover 7-point spread, no problem. We'll be going over 218.5, as the Jazz, they can put up a lot of points. The Clippers, they just tend to stay in games pretty close. So if the Jazz are scoring a lot, that means somehow the Clippers will be scoring a lot. So hence I'm leaning towards 218.5. You expect really hardcore defense this game, go with the under, but we've seen in the playoffs, the Clippers go small, Jazz have a hard time dealing with that. Clippers are able to knock down their threes. So I think both teams can push this towards an over, so hence why I'm going with an over. For Boston at the Kings, going with Boston -9.5. The way the Celtics have been playing, there should be no problem for them beating the Kings, and covering 9.5 spread, it shouldn't be a problem. I think, I'm surprised it's this close at 9.5. I wouldn't be surprised seeing this game as 12.5 or 13.5. But since they're playing the Kings, probably just a few more points towards the Kings. We will lean towards an over of 224.5, as Kings play no defense, so Boston should be able to take advantage of that. Any player that can knock down open three for the Celtics is going to be a field day for him. And then the Kings, they can just score a lot of points. I know Boston's defense is good. It will slow down the Kings, but they just play a faster pace, so just more shots will be attempted. And if more shots are attempted, that usually means more points overall. So hence why I would lean towards over 224.5. Even though Boston's defense, they shouldn't hold them down to under 100 points. I think the Kings will still get at least 108, somewhere there, plus or minus 5. And Boston, they should score 120, 125 as Kings. The Kings defense is not good. For the Bulls at the Suns, going with the Suns -6.5, as even without Paul, Suns have been playing very well. Their system works. The way that their point guards have been playing without Chris Paul, it's been getting everyone involved. So if you believe the Suns are just going to keep on playing how they have been playing, which they have been, even with all the injuries they've been having, they should be able to beat the Bulls. There's enough like wing defense on the Suns that should bother like Levine and DeRozan or whoever's out there for the Bulls. And they're gonna have like a rough night overall. The Bulls will still score as they're pretty great on offense, but the way that Suns have been playing on offense and defense has just been much better than how the Bulls have been playing. So hence why we lean towards Phoenix minus 6.5. Then over 230 as Suns should score a lot, and they have been scoring a lot. And they also been giving up a few more points just because they've been scoring so much that when it comes to fourth quarter, they can like lean off, so they'll give up a few more points. So over 230, very reasonable for this game. For Denver at Cleveland, we have Denver minus 2.5. Denver's been on a tear lately, and I think they'll be able to continue against the Cavaliers, as I think Jokic will be able to figure out the Cleveland defense and take advantage of that. So hence why we lean towards an over 221.5, as if Jokic can figure out the Cavaliers, they should be able to score a lot. I think Cleveland will keep it close. But if you think Cleveland's defense is going to be able to handle Jokic, I just would do the exact opposite, which is Cleveland plus 2.5, and go for an under. But I think Jokic is the best player on the floor, so hence I'll be leaning towards Denver in this game. For the Wizards at the Knicks, Knicks have been playing much better than the Wizards, so that's why I have to go with the Knicks. Been playing that faster pace of offense, then they have a solid defense, so I've viewed the Knicks as more reliable to bet on than the Wizards, so hence why I'm leaning towards the Knicks winning. And over 224, as I think the Wizards can score a lot, but their defense is going to have little to no effect on the Knicks, and the Knicks have been playing better on offense and scoring more, so hence why we're with over 224. Thank you for watching. As always, bet responsibly and have fun watching sports. And once again, thanks for watching.